Hello there, my name is Suzanne and I'm a board member and vice chair of Whitley Bay Big Local. I'll be telling you about the story of Whitley Bay Big Local's journey in trying to purchase a community building and housing. Whitley Bay is a lovely coastal town in the northeast, about 10 miles away from Newcastle. With a population of around 10,000, it has a thriving high street with a mix of well-known and independent shops. It also has good bars and restaurants, excellent schools and some good community facilities, but like most coastal towns, it has suffered. It's been around for a long time, in fact as far back as the 11th century. Nothing much happened until the good old Victorians came along with their railways, and suddenly it was the place to be. And for the next 80 years, the town thrived as a holiday resort with good hotels, beautiful coastlines, as well as the famous Spanish city Fun Fair and Dome. In the late 60s, the decline began as people started to take holidays abroad. The Fun Fair finally closed in the mid-90s, and the Dome became a semi-derelict building.
I think one of the key challenges for Whitley Bay is that we have already seen some regeneration, but there is more regeneration to be done. Whitley Bay has been, I believe, transformed in the last 8 to 10 years, and there's more to be done, and that's one of the challenges, more regeneration.
So for the last 10 years, Whitley Bay has been waiting. And at last the regeneration has begun. In fact, 36 million quid has been spent on the seafront regeneration, but there's still a lot more to do. So Whitley Bay can sometimes feel like the town of two halves. On one hand there is Millionaire's Row, but right next door are £100,000 flats. It has higher than average house prices for the North East. This means that an average wage will not enable you to get a first-time mortgage even on the cheapest of properties in the area. There are high levels of owner occupation, some private rented accommodation, but very little social housing. There have been a number of new developments for housing. However, none are for affordable housing, with average prices around £300,000. But at the other extreme, some people are living transiently in B&Bs and poor quality private rented accommodation. For this group in particular, having community spaces that people can go to and affordable housing is really important. Whitley Bay Big Local has already taken up a lease, renting a shop in the town centre for our community space.
It's a place where they feel safe, where they feel welcome, where they can be themselves, where they are at home. You know, people help themselves in the kitchen, people cook, people make friends. Everyone's comfortable, and I think, you know, there's a lot of people out there who are quite lonely, and if they didn't come here, then, you know, they'd struggle for other places to go.
I think a community space, community building would be absolutely fantastic for this area. We have, as you know, have already got a little bit of a community space here, and it is working really well. I think adding housing to that, community housing, would be a real benefit in two ways. One is that it would be affordable housing for individuals, but secondly would also bring an income stream into Whitley Bay Big Local to help us continue the work that we're doing.
So we decided to bring in some help with next steps, teaming up with consultant firm Social Acumen. Sometimes it's about being in the right place at the right time. Just as we were considering buying a building, the one that we were currently in came up for sale. This could answer our need for a community building. It could also provide some further income via commercial units. And finally, it had the opportunity to convert the upstairs into flats at a later date. But ultimately, this building proved too expensive. It was listed and the roof needed replacing. Fortunately for us, another building came up for sale, which was the ex-job centre. We are about to take a lease on this building with a view to hopefully purchasing it in the next year. If you're thinking of buying a building, make sure your organisation is constituted. We went for being a charitable incorporated organisation or a CIO, but do your research and decide what's the best structure for you. This can take several months, so best to do it early. Make sure that you can afford it. Does it stack up? You will need to do a business plan if you want to borrow, but don't be afraid to get help with this. Ask the community what they want. After all, you're there to represent them. If you're thinking of developing housing, consider, do you want to become a registered provider such as a housing association or a community land trust? Seek out sources of funding such as Power to Change or Homes England funding, and for mortgages there are several specialist providers such as Charity Bank who will lend to you.